We all wrestle with the big questions, don't we? Especially, as parents or educators or really anyone who cares deeply about the next generation. Questions like, how do we raise kids who aren't just, well, successful in the usual ways, but are truly good people? How do we actually equip them to navigate this complex world with genuine kindness and integrity and strength?
Yeah, and these aren't new questions either. I mean, people have been pondering these fundamentals for forever, really. And so today we're diving deep into the really fascinating world of child development.
Right. We pulled together a pretty rich stack of sources here, everything from, ancient fables and modern psych research to parenting guides and some quite profound philosophical texts. Our mission for this deep dive is pretty clear. We want to extract the most important nuggets on how to cultivate that deep-seated character, specifically focusing on virtue, empathy, and resilience.
Exactly. So prepare to maybe uncover some surprising facts, challenge a few common assumptions perhaps, and hopefully walk away with practical, actionable insights. Insights that will help you foster meaningful growth in the young people in your life, and maybe even in yourself. Let's get started.
Okay, so to really get to the heart of character, we should probably start with what philosophers call virtue ethics. It's not just about telling people what actions are good to do, is it? It seems more fundamental than that.
That's precisely it. It's about guiding them to become good people on the inside. Because when someone has, cultivated that goodness internally, doing good things externally just sort of flows naturally. We're talking about key virtues like courage, kindness, wisdom, honesty.
And that concept of practical wisdom seems really key here, too. It's not just abstract philosophy, right?
Yeah.
It's about handling those messy, real-world situations.
Absolutely critical. It's that skill, that discernment to navigate dilemmas where virtues might seem to conflict. Like, the classic honesty versus kindness scenario when telling the truth could really hurt someone's feelings. Practical wisdom is about developing that inner ability to weigh things up and choose the most humane path forward in that moment.
And this idea of virtue, it connects to something bigger, too, this concept of human flourishing.
Yeah.
Our sources link it to living a good life that's deeply harmonious, not just with other people, but even with our environment, kind of enhancing the world, not diminishing it.
It's an ancient idea, really, this notion that all creatures are kind of oriented towards their own goodness, or you could say optimization. And what's truly remarkable, I think, is how modern science is now backing up these age-old insights. The human brain, for example, is incredibly immature at birth. It actually has the longest maturational schedule of any animal we know, still developing well into the 20s, even 30s.
Wow. So that long development period, it means the environment, the social world, plays a massive role.
A profound role. That extended development means a child's brain isn't just growing, it's literally being sculpted by every interaction, every experience. Our sources even talk about epigenetics, how experiences can literally switch genes on or off, which, fundamentally challenges that older idea that children are just born corrupt and selfish. It suggests they're much more open, much more responsive to our influence than maybe we thought.
So if they're not inherently selfish, what are they hardwired for? And how does that shift our understanding of, say, a parent's role?
Well, the thinking is they're hardwired for social connection, for morality even. But, and this is the key bit, they need to learn the hows. They learn through that consistent interaction with caregivers. And that really puts the spotlight squarely on parents, doesn't it?
It really does. The sources describe parents as essentially a child's first moral teachers, bearing this major responsibility for imparting values right from the start. Values are even described as a kind of chisel, helping kids figure out right from wrong, laying the groundwork for their attitudes, behavior, how they cope later on.
And flowing right from that naturally is how parents approach this, their parenting style. Our sources emphasize this as absolutely crucial.
Okay, let's dig into that. How parenting styles can nurture character, using both kindness and firmness. There seems to be a whole spectrum of approaches. On one end, you've got the authoritarian style. Very strict rules, expects obedience, often relies on punishment. Kids might behave outwardly, but it can lead to issues like aggression or shyness or trouble making their own choices down the line.
Right. Then you have the permissive style, which is often warm, lots of affection, but very few expectations or rules. That can often lead to children becoming, well, irresponsible, maybe demanding, even a bit self-centered. And then there's uninvolved or neglectful, high freedom, but detached parents. Those kids often struggle socially and academically.
But the one that really seems to stand out in the research for fostering character is the authoritative style.
Yes, that's the one. It involves close, strong relationships, but also clear guidelines, explained reasons, and discipline that's more about support and teaching than just punishment. And the kids from these homes, they tend to be more responsible, confident, better at self-regulation, managing their emotions.
So, finding that sweet spot is key. Our sources really hammer home this idea of kind, anti-firm, calling it the magic sauce in positive discipline. It almost sounds contradictory, doesn't it? To be both kind and firm. What makes that specific combo so powerful?
Well, the brilliance of kind andy firm isn't just about setting rules. It's about helping a child build an internal compass. They learn to navigate challenges, take responsibility, not because they're scared, but from a place of feeling secure and trusting the relationship. It's really the difference between just getting external compliance versus fostering internal conviction. Think about it. If you parent with only kindness without the firmness, you often end up with a lack of boundaries, insecurity, maybe kids who are actually scared to say no later on, or who become demanding because they haven't learned limits.
That makes sense. Kindness without structure could feel adrift. But what about the other extreme? Only firmness. A lot of traditional approaches lean that way, right? Believing it built discipline.
Yeah, and parenting with only firmness, well, it tends to foster either submission or outright rebellion. It can create a really disconnected, kind of cold relationship, and it often leads to what some sources call the 3 R's of punishment. That's resentment, revenge, or retreat, just shutting down. Punitive discipline just doesn't seem to achieve that long-term change in behavior. There was this really quite shocking anecdote in one source about a young child, elementary school age, running punishment laps
Yeah.
on a twisted ankle. She kept running because she was too scared to stop, ended up in a cast later.
Oh, that's just awful. It really shows how fear can override even basic self-preservation instincts. It really underlines why this kind of anti-firm thing isn't just a nice idea, but maybe a practical necessity for building real resilience.
Absolutely. It's about fostering that intrinsic motivation, not just extrinsic. We want kids making healthy choices because they genuinely understand and weigh consequences internally, not just because they're afraid of getting caught or punished. There was another lighter anecdote about a positive discipline coach. A child apparently called her two-faced, but meant it as a compliment, said she was fun and strict, or, as we're saying, kind and firm. And another powerful example involved a 3-year-old who was hitting. Instead of jumping straight to punishment, the parent paused and actually vocalized their own feelings, frustration, anger. And apparently that pause, that honesty, led to an instant apology and a reconnection. It taught the child, in that moment, how to navigate strong feelings safely rather than just bottling them up or acting them out.
That's a fantastic way to model emotional intelligence right there. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. Let's talk practical tools for specific virtues. Honesty, for instance. What's the core insight there from our sources?
I think the deepest insight about fostering honesty isn't just teaching don't lie. It's more about creating an environment where a child feels safe enough to tell the truth, even when it's hard, even when they've messed up. That feeling of safety, not the fear of punishment, is really the bedrock of trust and ultimately honesty. So, practically. Well, you need to actually talk about it. Discuss what honesty means, why it matters for trust, but also, importantly, acknowledge that sometimes telling the truth is hard.
And it's not just talking, right? You
Yeah.
have to model it too. Kids learn so much by watching us. The idea of an honest attention day is interesting, just noticing your own small truths and untruths. Maybe even sharing age-appropriate examples from your own childhood, even little white lies, shows we're all learning. And when kids are honest, especially when it clearly took courage, like admitting they broke something, it's vital to praise that specific act of honesty, reinforce the behavior itself.
Exactly. But there's nuance too, which the sources acknowledge. Sometimes not telling the entire truth is socially appropriate, right? Like saying thank you for a gift you don't really like, rather than blurting out your true feelings. It's about practical wisdom again.
Okay, moving on to empathy. That ability to be aware of and even imagine how others are feeling seems crucial for friendships, for reducing conflict.
Absolutely key. And some general strategies work across ages. Things like modeling empathy yourself, of course, openly discussing all emotions, making it clear that all feelings are okay, even difficult ones, engaging in activities where you help others, and praising specific empathetic actions you see.
And for specific age groups, say preschoolers, 3 to 5-year-olds.
For the little ones, it's often about helping them label feelings. You seem angry right now. Or reading stories and asking, how do you think that character feels? Like in the book, Listening with My Heart. You could even set up a little we care center with tissues and Band-Aids for when someone's upset. Or just coaching in the moment. How do you think your brother feels when you snatch his toy?
Makes sense. And for slightly older kids, say 5 to 7.
You could try things like emotion charades, maybe, using characters from a movie like Inside Out, using pictures of faces to discuss different feelings. It's also a great age to gently introduce diversity, exposing them to different backgrounds and perspectives, observing nonverbal cues when you're out in public. Look at that person's face. How do you think they might be feeling?
Right.
And crucially, teaching healthy limits. Empathy doesn't mean you always have to say yes or fix everyone's problem.
Right, and for, say, 7 to 9-year-olds.
Now you can have more complex discussions about book characters, not just how they feel, but why they might feel that way and what they could do about it. Books like The Invisible Boy are great for this. You could explore simple loving kindness or compassion meditations, engage in cooperative games, board games like Race to the Treasure, or building projects where they have to work together.
And older kids, preteens 9 to 11.
Maybe encourage things like drama or acting classes, where they literally step into someone else's shoes. Creating empathy maps can be fun too, drawing sections for what someone might feel, think, say, and do in a certain situation.
And for teens, 12 and up.
Deeper discussions about current events are possible now. How might the people involved in this situation be feeling? Encouraging volunteer work can be really impactful. Activities like Walk the Line, where teens anonymously share experiences, can build incredible peer understanding and connection, showing them they aren't alone in their struggles.
Okay, great practical stuff there. Finally, let's tackle resilience. We know it's not something you're just born with, right? It's learned. It's the process of adapting well when things get tough. So how do we help kids learn that?
Well, a big part of it is mindset. Resilient kids or students tend to see mistakes not as failures, but as valuable learning opportunities. That's a huge shift. They also prioritize effort over just innate talent, and they view difficulties as temporary setbacks, not, the end of the world. Cultivating that mindset is crucial.
So practically speaking, how do we help them build that resilient mindset? What can parents or educators actually do?
Okay, several things. First, provide resources. Give kids the tools they need to solve problems themselves. In class, that might be charts or word walls. At home, it might be teaching them how to look things up, how to find information. Also, help them set goals. Small, achievable, short-term goals. Help them see that their effort leads directly to progress, even incremental progress, like, celebrating that they filled a whole page with writing, even if the spelling isn't perfect yet. And really, really value effort. Praise the process. You worked so hard on that, not just the outcome or innate ability. You're so smart.
Right, like that example of accepting nominy for pneumonia in early writing. The effort to grapple with a complex word was the real win there. Encouraging self-assessment, too.
Yes, and this is a big one. Offer strategies, not answers. When a child is stuck, guide them towards using a strategy, rereading, using context clues, sounding it out instead of just jumping in and giving them the answer. Let them wrestle with it a bit.
That takes patience.
It does. And also, emphasize the learning process. Make it clear that revision, editing, improving things is normal. It's not failure. Maybe even make editing fun with colorful pens or correction tape. And for families generally, encourage kids to try hard, even when things are difficult. Frame failures explicitly as learning opportunities. Resist that urge to solve their problems for them. Guide them to analyze the problem and brainstorm solutions instead. And offer lots of small choices early on so they learn about cause and effect through low-stakes decisions.
I'm thinking back to that story of the first-grade boy, the one who came into class feeling overwhelmed, shy, sad, frustrated, and how the teacher, instead of demanding he just comply and sit down, gave him space, validated his feelings, and he was able to move through them and eventually clear his own feelings chart. That feels like resilience building in action.
Exactly. Allowing space for the feeling, validating it, is part of building resilience. Which actually brings us perfectly to our final segment, connecting all these pieces into a more holistic view, looking at something called the evolved nest and the real power of having a family mission.
Okay, let's zoom out then. The evolved nest. Tell us about that. Our sources say this is based on how humans lived for like 99% of our history.
That's the idea. For most of human history, we lived in small, cooperative hunter-gatherer groups. And these groups provided an intensive system of care for children, what some researchers call the evolved nest. This nest includes things like lots of affectionate touch, prompt and appropriate responses to babies' needs, breastfeeding on request, often for several years, multiple caregivers, not just mom and dad, but grandparents, aunts, uncles, older siblings, what they call alloparents. It also includes lots of multi-age, self-directed free play, especially out in nature, a generally positive, low-stress home climate, soothing experiences around birth, and that deep connection to the natural world.
And the impact of providing this kind of nest It's pretty profound for development.
Hugely profound, according to this research. When the nest is adequately provided, children's brains develop optimally. It builds strong foundations for being prosocial, for developing moral capacities. It leads to more peaceable, cooperative personalities. But when parts of the nest are missing, which is common today, it can lead to developmental dysregulation. It can foster what's called a cycle of competitive detachment, where people become more self-absorbed, less able to connect deeply with others because their own core needs weren't fully met early on.
And that's the rub, isn't it? Modern life often makes providing that full nest really difficult. Inflexible jobs, maybe debt, lack of a village, or strong community support.
Exactly. The modern world presents real obstacles. So if we know this nest is so important, but it's hard to provide, what's the solution?
What do the sources suggest?
They talk about moral innovation, which basically means creatively finding ways to support the components of the nest within your own unique family circumstances. It's not about perfection, it's about intention. It might mean consciously asking each day, have my kids' needs for touch, for play, for connection been reasonably met today? It might mean talking with older kids about the child nest component so they can start to recognize and articulate their own needs. It definitely means prioritizing unstructured free play, seeing it not as a luxury, but as essential for well-being.
Moral innovation. I like that framing. Being creative with what you can do. This seems to lead naturally into the idea of a family mission statement. How can families create a shared vision for these kinds of values?
Right. A family mission statement is essentially a unified expression of what your family is all about, your core values, your principles. Think of it like a roadmap or maybe a constitution for your family.
Why is having one so important, especially today?
Well, in a world that often feels pretty turbulent and unpredictable, it provides a sense of stability, a structure. It really strengthens family bonds. It can reduce friction because you have shared principles to refer back to. It helps align everyone's priorities. Ultimately, it creates a shared sense of identity and purpose, something grounding to return to.
Okay, so how does a family actually go about creating one? It sounds a bit formal, maybe.
It doesn't have to be. Our sources lay out a pretty straightforward 10-step process that makes it quite accessible. Step 1, gather everyone. Maybe make it fun. Do it over pizza or something. Step 2, explain what it is and why it matters to them. Frame it as their family's special guide. Step 3, brainstorm. Ask fun questions like, how to be the last name? What makes your family unique? Capture those quirks.
Okay, that sounds doable. What's next?
Step 4, go a bit deeper. What characteristics and values are truly most important to you all? How do you want to treat each other? What makes home feel like a safe, comfortable place? How do you want to handle disagreements? Step 5, write everything down. Every single contribution matters. No editing yet. Step 6, then reflect together. Look for common themes. Prioritize what really resonates most strongly with everyone.
Right, so you've got the core ideas down.
Step 7, turn those themes into clear, simple phrases that capture your values. Things like, love each other and be kind, or we always try our best, or have fun and laugh often. Keep it authentic to your family. Step 8, choose a format. Will it be printed and framed, painted on a canvas, made into a song, piece of collaborative art, whatever feels right for your family?
Make it your own. I like that. What are the last 2 steps? They seem important.
Crucial. Step 9, test it out. Don't just make it and forget it. Display it where everyone sees it, and actively refer to it. In challenging moments, ask, does how we're handling this fit with our family mission when making decisions? Does this align with our values? And step 10, adapt and refine. See it as a living document. Your family will change, kids grow up, revisit it periodically, maybe once a year, and tweak it as needed.
That makes sense. It's easy to feel pressure for it to be perfect, though.
Absolutely. But remember that great quote from Stephen Covey. Good families, even great families, are off track 90% of the time. The mission statement isn't about achieving perfection or creating rigid rules. It's a guide. It's a compass to help you find your way back to your shared values when inevitably things get messy.
So wrapping this all up, it's clear that this journey of raising kids with strong character filled with virtue, empathy, resilience, it's a really profound undertaking, isn't it?
It truly is. And it's multifaceted. It blends this, ancient wisdom we talked about with cutting-edge modern science. And it really reminds us that every interaction, every choice we make, the environments we create, it all contributes to the person a child is becoming.
Yeah. We've covered a lot today, how character is really built from the inside out, that transformative power of being both kind and firm in our parenting. We looked at practical ways to foster honesty, empathy, resilience, and even zoomed out to see the bigger picture, the impact of that evolved nest, and the unifying power of a family mission.
And ultimately, nurturing the next generation, it isn't just about their individual success or happiness, is it? It's fundamentally about shaping the fabric of our communities, our society, going forward.
Absolutely. So maybe the final thought for you listening today is this. Knowing what you now know, with maybe one small step, one intentional action you can take today, how can you more consciously cultivate the values in the environment that will help the children in your life and maybe even help yourself to truly flourish?